Guys, what's going on? I hope you guys are well. I hope you guys are staying safe. I hope everything's good wherever you are. So guys, I'm going to do another video, and I'm going to try break this video down into a couple of parts. I want to firstly talk about Hearn and Brook. Guys, we're almost under 2 weeks away now from Amir Khan v Kell Brook. We saw Sky Sports air them two going back and forth. Before I get into this Amir Khan, the next part of the video is going to be how Eddie Hearn says that Canelo is interested in becoming undisputed at 175. Which is something that, you know, I'm going to talk about in the second part of this video. But I want to go back to Hearn and Brook. Amir Khan and Kell Brook are fighting in less than 2 weeks now. 12 days. And the anticipation, the hype, people are excited. I'm excited. I'm nervous because, as you guys, I've told you guys before, I'm nervous for Amir Khan. Want him to win. It may be the last time. I actually spoke to one of my mates yesterday, or actually someone that I know, and he actually said he's going to the fight. And he says the reason why he's going to the fight because he's quietly confident that Khan's going to win the fight, and the fact that it's Khan's last fight. And he said the ticket was fairly expensive as well. And he's quite confident that Khan's going to do a job on Brook. I'm not so confident. But what I will say is this. Amir Khan's been having a lot of fun in the build-up. He's been very relaxed. And he's been chilled. Like, even every interview I've seen, he's not hesitant. He's just doing his thing. He's not agitated. He's just very calm, relaxed. Whereas Brook feels like he wants to rip his head off. Like, Brook just seems so tense. Like, he wants to, like, you know, he wants to just completely rip him in half. Brook just looks very, very tense to me. Like, he looks like he wants to go in there and have a proper scrap. At this stage in Brook's career, I don't think Brook can do that. I don't think Brook can go into a fight with Amir Khan and just look to gun him down, because if Brook gets caught, it could be over for him. We already saw what happened against Terence Crawford, and he was actually boxing a very good fight against Crawford. And as soon as he got hit, and the chances are if he tries to be reckless against Amir Khan, he's going to get caught, and he'll get caught with combination punches. And at this point, like I said, I don't know what Kell Brook can take punch resistance wise. So he's got to box smart and look to be patient and look to hit Amir Khan with a big shot, but set it up. Because if he goes in there recklessly, Khan's fast hands may damage him, and damage him very early. Because from what I saw of the Terence Crawford fight, his punch resistance, especially down at that weight of 149, isn't going to help him. Isn't going to help him. So there's a very good chance that Amir Khan could do some real damage early on in that fight if Brook is reckless. Because early on in the fight, Amir is going to be fast. He's not going to be easy to hit. And if Kell Brook starts making mistakes or starts lunging in, he's going to get caught with shots. And the million-dollar question is if the punches land right, is Kell Brook going to be able to take those punches? I'm not so sure at this point. And if he does get hurt, then Khan will finish him off, because his fast hands will do the rest, right? If he gets you hurt, the chances of you being able to recover with somebody with a volume puncher like that, it's unlikely. Brook's got to be patient, and Brook's got to work himself into the fight. You know, what Brook's got to do after 3-4 rounds, Brook's got to go in there and be very cautious. He's got to, he's basically got to not be hurt or stopped in the first 3 or 4 rounds, because there's a possibility that might happen. So Brook's got to go in there and try to stop Amir Khan landing and be very cautious in getting hit. Because as the fight wears on, the fight favors Brook because he's the bigger, stronger guy. But early on in the fight favors Amir and favors him quite well. If Brook lands something early on, he could do some damage. But early on in that fight, for me, I just think it favors Amir Khan. And Brook might have to come through an onslaught early on. But Brook's quite a fast starter himself. So Brook likes to start. And Brook, for me, defensively, he's never been great. He's always been a guy that gets hit a lot. And he's also a guy that when he gets hit, he likes to come back. He has got a pretty good chin. At this point, I'm not so sure. He does like to bite back and come back and become aggressive back. And that could be to his detriment here, because mistakes against Amir Khan, you might be getting hit by 3 or 4 punches. And like I said, can Kell Brook really at this point in his career afford to get hit? Because Kell Brook hasn't faced anyone like Amir Khan. Amir Khan's faced guys like Kell Brook. Kell Brook has never faced anyone like Amir Khan. And what I mean by that, the style of Amir Khan, not necessarily he's fought, you could say he's fought better fighters than Amir Khan for sure, but he hasn't fought a style like Amir Khan. Amir Khan has a surprise factor. His hand speed is so fast, even at this point, it'll still be very fast, that he brings a surprise element to the ring. Kell Brook doesn't really bring anything that's an X factor or surprise element. Amir Khan has fought guys with good timing, like Canelo, like Crawford. He's been in the ring with guys like Danny Garcia, who very heavy-handed. Maidana, who are very heavy-handed. He's been in the ring with pressure fighters like Maidana. So Kell Brook doesn't really bring anything for me that Amir has not had to face before. Whereas Kell is going to have to... He's getting in the ring with somebody that's bringing something different, which is the hand speed. And he's never gone in the ring with anyone anywhere remotely as fast a hands as Amir Khan. Even Crawford hasn't got anywhere near the hand speed of Khan when he's on full flow and full form. So Kell Brook is going to have to be cautious early on in that fight. He's got to be patient. If he's reckless in that fight, with his punch resistance at this point in his career, he could get wiped out very early. But if Kell Brook is patient, able to weather the storm early on, take that fight deep, then the fight favours him a lot more. It'll also come down to whether Brook's power has an impact, because I was actually speaking to the guy yesterday, and he actually said that Kell Brook, for his size, he's not a very big puncher. For how big he is, because I almost consider Kell a bit of a weight bully, and I see the Spence the same way, and David Benavidez, where they're big guys and they boil themselves down to the weight. But Kell Brook's not really a big puncher. He's not, for his size and how big he is and how muscular he is, I don't really look at him as a knockout artist. I don't really look at him as a guy that's going to knock somebody out with one punch. Does he have the power to hurt Amir Khan? Yes, but I don't really see, like, Amir Khan is got to be seriously worried, like, in the sense where Brook is like this guy that he's going to put him to sleep. I can't see it. At this point in Amir's career, I don't know what punch resistance he's got left, because his punch resistance in his prime wasn't the greatest. We don't know what it is now. But I will say this, I don't think Kell Brook is anywhere near the biggest puncher that Amir Khan's going to go in the ring with. Canelo was a bigger puncher. For me, Maidana was a bigger puncher. And it wasn't just the fact that Maidana was a bigger puncher, it was the angles that Maidana used to throw his punches from. And I would even say Danny Garcia was a bigger puncher. I think Danny Garcia is more heavy-handed than Kell Brook. I think Kell Brook's his punches stun you more than hurt you. And hence why I've seen Danny Garcia knock guys out cold. I've not seen Kell Brook knock anybody out cold. Even when he fought Frankie Gavin was stopped on his feet. When he fought Jojo Dan, Kevin Bizier, they just weren't good fighters, you know. They just weren't great names or great fighters like that. But whenever he's fought somebody that has a bit of resilience, that's at some kind of level, like Zarafa went the distance with Kell Brook. Carson Jones went the distance. Porter went the distance. Spence wasn't really troubled. And when I mean troubled, I mean, he never hurt them. He never put them down or wobbled them or was about to knock them out. And for me, that's not a big puncher at world level. A guy that's a puncher is Julian Jackson. He takes your lights out. Look at what he did to Harold Graham. Sparked him. That's what you call a big puncher at world level. He's able to wipe you out. That's a big puncher. Kell Brook's a solid puncher. He's more stuns you. He's got respectable power. Does he have the power to hurt Amir Khan at this point, knock him out? Yeah. Most likely. But I don't think his power is what people make out. And I don't think it's the kind of power where people are saying where if he hits Khan once, he's going to put him to sleep. I don't think so. I don't think so. He'll have to break Amir Khan down, not put him to sleep with one punch. I don't think Kell has that kind of power. I've seen his whole career. I don't think he has that kind of power. Maybe against lesser guys, lower level guys at lower level, yes. But not Amir Khan. I don't see it. I don't see it. Even Prescott was fairly heavy-handed. He didn't have a very good career, but he was fairly heavy-handed. For me, Kell Brook is Kell Brook, for his size, yeah, he could punch. Kell Brook can definitely punch. But for his size and how big he is, I don't think he's that big a puncher, if you see what I mean. I don't think he is. But we'll have to wait and see. Only time will tell, right? Let's get on to the second part. I will be doing a lot more Khan Brook videos now that the fight's getting closer. But yeah, let's go on to the second part about Canelo Alvarez and him becoming undisputed 175-pound champion. Look, Canelo Alvarez, for me, I've said it many times. I want Canelo to become an undisputed 175-pound champion. I think that's where Canelo's going to be tested. I feel that's where Canelo's going to have to show his mettle, because I believe that's where it's going to be his toughest challenges, Bivol and Beterbiev. I think he beats Bivol. A lot of people seem to think Bivol is going to test him and beat him. I don't see it that way. I think Canelo Alvarez, for me, if he wants to add and further his legacy, becoming undisputed at 175 pounds, that's incredible. To become undisputed at 2 different weight classes, see, that's what you call legacy. A lot of you say legacy. That's legacy. He would do something, like I said before, him becoming a 5-division world champion, that's been done before. Who's become an undisputed champion at 2 weight classes? Nobody. Nobody. And that's what's beautiful. That's what I think Canelo should chase. The only guy that I think is going to come between him and doing that is Arthur Beterbiev. I think Arthur Beterbiev may be a problem. I think he's the only one. I've said this for a while now. Arthur Beterbiev is the only fighter from 160 to 175 that can beat Canelo Alvarez. If Canelo Alvarez can beat Arthur Beterbiev, Saul Canelo Alvarez will become the undisputed 175-pound champion. There's no doubt in my mind. He's the guy that's going to get in the way of Canelo and greatness. He's the guy. He's the monster. And Canelo Alvarez, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, wants to become undisputed 175-pound champion. He wants that. He wants to achieve that, because he knows Canelo is all about legacy. But what we determine, like, see, legacy to a lot of fans is determined by who your favorite fighter is and who you want to see Canelo fight. That's why the people say Charlo, Benavidez, Andrade, because they know about them. They don't know about some of the fighters from the UK, so they call us Eurobums. But when it comes to legacy, being an undisputed champion at 175 pounds, nothing outdoes that. Nothing beats that. Because becoming an undisputed at 2 weight classes where really you're a small guy at. You know, Canelo's not the biggest at 168 pounds, and he's certainly very small at 175 pounds. So Canelo Alvarez will be doing something exceptional. But the only reason I want him to do it is because I know he's capable of it. You know, not any normal, ordinary fighter can do that. To become undisputed at 2 weight classes, that's very difficult to do. Very, very difficult to do. But he can, because he's that great at this point. And as I was talking about mindset and confidence the other day, he doesn't feel he can be beaten at this point. His confidence, his form is at such a high level, and his mindset is at is so strong mentally at this point. He's not going to be beaten. It's going to take something very, very special to beat Saul Canelo Alvarez, because that's where he's at. He's in cloud 9 right now. And for me, like I said, don't toy with this. Don't go up and fight an Usyk or someone like that where you get beat and then you may not be the same. You know, stay at 168, stay at 175 pounds, because those are fights that I believe at this point, like, I would favour Canelo to beat everyone from 160 to 175. The only guy that I would have a slight concern about is Arthur Beterbiev, who I believe can beat Canelo Alvarez, who may beat Canelo Alvarez. I think he's very big and strong, and Canelo might have a lot of trouble with Arthur Beterbiev. But that's the only real guy. That's the only real guy. Let's be brutally honest. That's the only guy that's going to trouble Canelo Alvarez. For me, because Bivol, I know a lot of people seem to think Bivol is going to be a problem, but Bivol, he's not a big puncher. He's a good boxer. He's got a good jab, all of that. But Canelo's faced a lot of that now. He's an expert now at facing that style. And I just don't think Bivol has enough to beat someone like Saul Alvarez. I haven't been that impressed with Bivol. I think I need to see more for me to, you know, validate him and rate him the way certain boxing fans seem to rate him. For me, he hasn't done enough. For me, Bivol hasn't done enough for me to say he'll beat Canelo Alvarez. I don't think he's that great as what people make out. People say that he's been in second gear and he's not really been at his best. But Canelo Alvarez is always at his best, generally. You know, when he fought Yildirim, he battered him in 3 rounds. You know, Bivol fought Craig Richards and looked very poor in that fight, in my opinion. So for me, Bivol has to do a lot more. He has to improve. He hasn't been looking as impressive. Canelo has. So one must say, Canelo would be a massive favourite going against Bivol. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Do you think becoming 175 pound and an undisputed in 2 weight classes puts Canelo out there, doesn't it? Because it's something that nobody's done. You know, to become undisputed in 1 weight class is an achievement. To do it in 2 weight classes is phenomenal. To become undisputed across 2 weight classes, that's just ridiculous. That's ridiculous. That's becoming a joke for Canelo, just ripping everything up. So for me, I think that's what Canelo should target, because it's easily achievable as well, and it can be done quite quickly. Because especially if Arthur Beterbiev and Joe Smith fight, Canelo Alvarez could have 2 fights and he's undisputed champion at 175. But he'll have to fight the 2 best guys in Bivol and Beterbiev. He'll have to fight the 2 best guys. I wouldn't want that Canelo Beterbiev fight to age though, because Beterbiev is getting a bit on a little bit. You know, so if Canelo wasn't to fight him this year, then next year, you know, Beterbiev starts becoming older. So, you know, I would rather that fight sooner rather than later. I'd rather that fight sooner rather than later. Otherwise, that fight might go past its expiry date as well, where, you know, Beterbiev maybe has another fight or 2 and doesn't look that impressive. And then, you know, that fight loses a bit luster and Canelo becomes a massive favourite all of a sudden. Whereas right now, it would be seen as a 50-50. So hopefully that fight can be made between Canelo and Beterbiev very soon. I think that's the fight I really want to see. I know people are talking about Canelo and Golovkin. I don't think that fight holds the same kind of weight anymore. I think Golovkin is a shadow of himself, and I think the rematch favours Canelo so firmly. I think Canelo would be a firm favourite going in to a Golovkin rematch. I just don't think that fight favours Golovkin anymore, and I think Canelo would take over and beat him. I think he may even stop Golovkin. That's how. And Golovkin, as we know, has never been dropped down. But I just think at this point, 40 years of age, I don't know, can Golovkin compete with Canelo at this point? I think he can compete, but I won't be surprised if Canelo does put it on him and maybe stop him late. You know, even Bradley said that. You know, when you start getting to 40, man, that starts in boxing. That's old man. That's an old, especially in the lower weight classes. That's a real old man right there. You know, there's very few smaller weight fighters. Because remember, smaller guys, I know Golovkin's a massive, massive puncher, but against Canelo Alvarez, we've already seen Canelo takes his power. So he's not going to knock Canelo out. And Canelo's got a very good defense. So he's going to have to go 12 rounds. And can Golovkin at 40 years of age still have the stamina and take the punishment that he's going to be dished out for 12 rounds? You know, that's not easy at that age, so it's going to be difficult for him. I think he deserves a trilogy, but it's not a fight that I like to see, because I'm not as interested. I think there's other fights out there that I'd rather see. But for Golovkin's sake, I wouldn't mind, because he does deserve it. Because, you know, I thought he won the first fight. I thought Canelo won the second fight. So I think it should be 1 apiece, and I think he was hard done by. And his legacy's been hurt as a result of that. Because if it was 1 each, then there would definitely be a trilogy. But because it was a draw and Canelo won the second one, there's no need for a there's no need for, in Canelo's, in terms of Canelo, he feels he's 1-0 right now. So he feels, why do I need to fight him again? You know, he doesn't really need to. But yeah, leave your thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Eddie Hearn says Canelo wants to become undisputed. Leave your thoughts. Let me know what you think. And guys, remember to please like, share, subscribe to my channel. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.